Our speaker is so amazing, you guys. She's just incredible. She starts every morning helping people start their day as a television talk show host in Washington, D.C., which is actually how we met her back in October. We were on her show and she was just a pleasure to work with. We knew we had to get her looped into SheFactor. She's the author of an incredible book, A Work in Progress, and a motivational speaker, encouraging women to lean into a never-ending growing life process, pursuing their passions, and reminding you that this is all just a crazy journey. So if you guys have questions for Ellen throughout, go ahead and enter them into the Q&A, and we'll have a couple minutes for her to answer them when she's done. And I'm going to pull Ellen up here. Guys, this is crazy, this technology thing. I have too many screens open right now. Okay. Ellen, the floor is yours.
So I say start, all right? You see me, right?
Hi, Ellen.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to see you struggling, Tori, because this is exactly what we're doing right now with the news business. We are all moving to our houses to broadcast. So this is kind of our setup. We tested it this morning on the 6 o'clock news. It worked, so I'm hoping it's gonna work fully tonight. But Tori and Heidi, they both mentioned, I actually met them because I host a daytime talk show, and we had them on last fall, and I do about 4 to 6 interviews a morning here in Washington, D.C., everything from celebrities to local groups who are trying to put out what they are promoting in the community. And I saw SheFactor and I started reading about it. And normally I do about 15 to 20 minutes of prep before an interview. I went in, I told Tori I listened to all of her podcasts she had already put out. SheFactor is something I wish I had had when I was graduating from college, and especially all through the 20s. Because you heard Tori say, we all feel this way. We all have this vision of what we want our future to look like. And we graduate college and we want to be in that place that we are dreaming and that we're envisioning ourselves in. But it takes a long time to get there, which is why the slide you see on the screen is A Work in Progress. That's actually the title of my book that I wrote right after I got out of my 20s. I wrote it when I was 30, and it's written for all of you because it was like, okay, here's what I've learned in my 20s as I was climbing the broadcasting ladder, trying to get to Washington, D.C., trying to get more out of the news journalism and into the talk show lifestyle, which is where I am now, but wanting it to happen so quickly. So I just have three quick things. I'm not going to talk for very long that I hope you take away from some of the lessons that I learned in my 20s and a little bit before as well. The first one is, if you are a planner like I am, you never know what's going to happen. There are things that you have planned for that will never happen. And there are many things in life that you have never planned for, you never dreamed would be possible, that will just come out of nowhere and completely change your course and your path. The second thing I hope you take away from this is that you should try everything in your 20s. Like, this is the time when you can go out and say, let me see if I like that. All right, I like this part of it. I don't like this. Let me try something else. Let me mix in a little bit of a different type of scenario to what I'm now exploring. This is the time to do it. And then finally, I also hope you give yourself some time, that you allow yourself to be the work in progress. So I told you that I am a talk show host now. I was not always this way. Let me see if I can advance the slide. Do I just hit the arrow? Let's see.
You should have access of the mouse. You just click the little arrow in the corner.
I'm in the corner. Sorry, guys. This really does feel like I'm back at work.
I'm
in the top corner?
Bottom corner, like right here. Can you see where my arrow is?
No.
Oh gosh. Okay, wait.
I'm sorry, guys.
Ellen. Okay, now try it.
Down in the bottom corner.
Yep. Or just try clicking the next button. Oh, there you go.
Maybe. Oh, did it go?
Yeah, you have it now. Okay, go.
Guys. Oh, there we go. That's the slide we want. Okay, perfect. So this is me. Many years ago, I'm the youngest of 3 girls. So you see my sisters there, my 2 older sisters, and then my mom and dad. I grew up in a small town in Salina, Ohio. And truly, I always go back to my why, which is not just my family, but it's also my sister. So my oldest sister, I know the screen's kind of going back and forth. Did I do something, Tori?
Screen freaked out. Hold on, guys.
I can keep talking and y'all can just see whatever pictures are coming up. My oldest sister, Christina, was getting ready for her senior year in high school. She was a junior in high school at the time and was a smart student. She was ranked third in her class. She was president of the National Honor Society. She played on the golf team. She was in chamber choir and did all of the musicals. And the summer before she was starting her senior year of high school, where she had it all figured out, she's going to go to college next. Like that was her plan and her path and her future. She was working on a golf course back in 2000, so 20 years ago this summer. She had been working when there was a storm that came through the area. And Christina was inside the clubhouse where people check in to play golf, and had gone and was safe during the storm. She had gone inside. The storm passes through our town, and Christina went back outside after it was no longer raining. The storm was going to the next small town nearby. And she was doing one last job of the day, which was to pick up these golf bag stands that were on the driving range. And when she was bending over to pick one up, she was struck by a bolt of lightning. That bolt of lightning had actually come back from the storm, and it hit my sister in a direct strike that was so powerful, it really sent her into cardiac arrest. And so long-term injuries for my sister was really a brain injury, an anoxic brain injury. And 20 years later today, she still has not been able to walk or move on her own since then. She has not been able to do more than nod her head yes and no. She's very aware. And I think what you're seeing right now is our family picture today. You can see her smiling. She loves my niece, my little 2-year-old niece. She's a little younger in that picture. Is very aware and is very happy. But she was going down one path and everything instantly changed for her, right? She didn't see this coming. And I always laugh because people usually say, as the most rare thing that could ever happen to you is you'd be struck by lightning. Well, if it's not meant to be, I'll be struck by lightning. For me, that's been a reality of knowing, okay, I planned all of this, but this can really actually happen. Like something that you never think will happen. So you never know. When you're planning your future, you also have to be aware that you might have to embrace some things that you actually aren't planning on. My sister did not plan on this. And yet she is the most joyful, kind-hearted person that I know. She is not mad that this happened to her. She's not upset that she never went to college and never walked down the aisle to get married. She still lives at home with my parents. They are full-time caregivers to her as well because she can't move. But she has embraced it. And she has changed more lives as she is today than I think had she have been any other way if she had gone on. And that's because she's embraced what life has also thrown to her. So that was something that's strong in my foundation of my why. You always want to have your why, right? Like why do I want to do this? What is my purpose behind this? But then also it's there as like, there's only so much you can control. The second thing, I'll try to advance the slide, see how this goes. Maybe I'll just let Tori advance it if she can hear me.
I got it.
Okay, nice.
Tell me when.
So this is kind of my career since I graduated college. So when I was in college, I had a professor tell me, he knew I wanted to be a broadcaster. And he asked me if I had ever tried a pageant to help my career. And I had never tried a pageant. My dad always said the Bryans don't do pageants. And so at his suggestion, I tried one summer, won a local and then went to compete at Miss Ohio and was 4th runner-up the first year. And I won a bunch of scholarship money. And so I went back. And after 3 years, right when I graduated from college, I won Miss Ohio and I went to compete at Miss America. So that was my first year post-college. From then on, within less than the next 7 years, I moved and lived in 6 different states. So I was Miss Ohio and then I started my broadcasting career right away. And I moved to Kentucky. I moved to Dallas, Texas, which is what you're seeing in the middle picture. I worked for NBC, the network. So that was really cool for their local station in Dallas. And then I moved out to Washington, D.C. And the last picture you're seeing there is my current job of working as a talk show host. There are many pictures missing in between here of times when I did not love what I was doing, when I had a pit in my stomach driving to work thinking, I don't want to pitch a story idea. This is not me. I realized very early on that I'm non-confrontational. And so as a reporter, And when I was in college, I thought I wanted to be an investigative reporter. If you would have asked me back then, I would have said, I want to work for the network and I want to be a strong investigative reporter, putting out stories that will change people's lives, which they do, and they are very necessary. But 2 months in, I knew that was not for me. And so I had to slowly try everything and figure out, okay, what do I like to do in this industry? So I produced, I had to run my own teleprompter for the weekend show that I anchored. I would also report it and also shoot video for, and you would edit the video as well. I did street reporting on a morning show down in Dallas. And then finally, when I came to Washington, D.C., I moved in to do traffic on their morning show. And I realized I really liked to be able to ad lib, to not be stuck to scripts and just reading. It didn't feel very authentic to me. And so after a couple years of doing traffic, then I moved over to doing a talk show, which is where I just feel so at home, because it is getting to tell people's stories, but you're just talking to them. You're just having a conversation with them. And it took a decade to get there. And so I think what I learned by trying so many different positions and having to move around so much for a broadcasting career is that I knew what I didn't like to do, but I also have empathy for people who are doing that at our station. So people who are producing, I have a lot of empathy for them when I'm on air, because I know what it's like to be in that seat. And it really helps you out in your working environment when you can understand different roles and then also know how you can help other people while being the best at what you do. I want to show you, the next slide is actually of Lizzo. I don't know if you have also thought that 2019 was the year of Lizzo. I did for sure. She put this out as everyone started calling her an overnight success. And she said, 8 years of touring, giving out free tickets to my undersold shows, sleepless nights in my car, losing my dad, giving up on music, playing shows for free beer and food with negative $32 in my bank account, constantly writing songs but hearing no, but always saying yes, glad I never gave up. Her, and then also another example is Amy Schumer, who's the next slide, who is also called an overnight success. Just as about everybody in Hollywood who, once they make it big, they act like they just came out like this, right? That there wasn't the 20 years of hard work to get to where they are today. My fiance is actually a comedian, and he was with Amy Schumer back when she was first starting out in New York City, going to the little bars, performing sets for 10 people, trying to work out a set, figure out what she was good at, what she didn't want, trying everything at that moment. She definitely had to work for it, as everyone does. And I think that's what we forget the most. We forget that it's actually going to take some time to actually develop into the person that you want to be. Kind of have that vision, and you can see your future and you say, okay, I'm a big visualization person. Okay, this is what I want to do, but it's going to take time to get there, and no one can replace that time. It's the experience that you put in. I love this quote, this next on the next slide, Tori, that it was kind of the base for when I started writing my book. It says, you're allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress simultaneously. I always wanted to write a book, but I always thought I couldn't be an author until I had learned everything, until I had put in all the time, I had all the lessons learned, and then I was going to put it all into a book, include a big part of it was my sister's story, and then I was going to publish it, and that would be my work. And I really had this bug to write a book, and I kept saying, why don't you just write one right now? You have a lot of stories, a lot of lessons from your 20s. Why don't you write a book and put it out as I had turned 30 of here's what I've learned in my 20s. And I'm not done yet. I'm definitely a work in progress. I got on Great Day Washington and thought, okay, what's next? How do I develop this? And that's right when I published the book and started my own business. And so I'm really embracing this season, as you should as well, to know that you're a masterpiece right now. You're also a work in progress. It's only going to get better from here. Really, you're starting with a great foundation. And as you think about your future and your planning, it is great to have that vision and know where you want to go. But then, like my sister, be able to take whatever life throws you down that path and say, all right, okay, let me embrace this. Now this is part of my story and who I am. Instead of getting bitter about your story, you use it to tell your lessons and to maybe help someone else out and maybe have that authenticity, and people can relate to you more because you are being real and you've been through something, and you're a genuine person. I think there's one more slide. I did want to give you all a chance to connect. So that's my website right there. I have these little things called Minute Motivations, and someone emailed me yesterday or the day before. They said, these Minute Motivations are really helping me right now. Talk about uncertainty about the future. Right now, everyone's like, what's happening tomorrow? I mean, we're starting to broadcast from our homes. This has never been done before, right? So we all feel like, okay, so many things are out of our control. I have a ton of Minute Motivations on my website, ellenbryan.com. You can go just start your day with one little minute to kind of pick up your spirits. And then I also wanted to give you guys all this special offer for my book. It's very similar to Minute Motivation. It's kind of just one little page a day to try to start you off on the right foot. I will give it to you all for $10. So basically I'll ship it to you. I'll sign it and everything. Just send me an email if you would like a copy of the book. And I see Tori's pop back up. Yeah.
And a couple people are going to get it in the giveaways today.
That's true. That is true. You can get it for free.
Exactly. That was so awesome, Ellen. Every time I hear your story and I've read your book, and it gives me goosebumps every time. And I know we have some questions that people want to ask. So
Nice.
Abigail wants to know, how did your experience with pageants prepare you for your professional career and personal development?
Oh my gosh. So I love the Miss America program is mainly the one that I still volunteer and I go back because they paid for my college education. I never have regretted doing Miss Ohio, doing Miss America. What has been very hard for me was I competed at a time when they still had the swimsuit competition that's only been eliminated recently. And so to me, what I felt like the standard of beauty was set at the time when I was competing was something that was extremely unrealistic. It was not healthy for me. I developed a lot of negative body image issues, and that really carried over for many years into my career because I'm also being on TV, people, that's the first thing they critique of you every day is what you wear and what you look like.
But you have great outfits.
Well, thank you. I rent all my clothes now. I cut my hair recently this short. I cut it short right after I ended pageants and right when I was done with Miss Ohio. And then I cut it this short recently. And it has felt very much like, okay, because no one would have ever told me to cut my hair this short when I was competing. But the really good thing of competing in pageants was that I learned who I was. And you develop a thick skin, which you need in broadcasting. So it was a great recommendation because people will critique me today. I'll be like, oh, I've heard much worse. Don't worry. Just from people you're in the audience watching the pageant. It's just kind of part of that environment.
Well, going off of that, and I think that in this time for everyone, I love this question. And I think it's really important, but how have you remained so optimistic and hopeful with so much negativity, and especially in an industry? I mean, I was a broadcast journalism major, and that was what I thought I wanted to do too. And even, in podcasting and whatnot, it's, there's always so much pressure on you. So how do you deal with that and just remain so positive?
I think that's why I always start out with my sister's story. I mean, I always lay in bed in the morning, and the first thing I do when my alarm goes off, I actually have the book back here, The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. I definitely recommend that. Before I do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let me get out of bed, I list 3 things that I'm grateful for. And it's so funny because I think of my sister who would lay in bed when she wakes up in the morning. And just to sit up in bed would be the best day that she's had in 20 years. I would be the most movement. And here I can sit up and I can get out of bed and I can go to a job that I really like. Like, I am so grateful and so blessed. And so I almost feel like it would be a slap in the face to her if I was negative and complaining about things. Not that I don't, I definitely do. But if I lived in that space, I just have such a great example in her of, all right, you know what, you really have a really great life. Let's go and do whatever you can with what you've been given.
I love that. Let's see, I'm going to find one last really good question. And then also for everyone too, you can go, Ellen, you can go in and type in answers to everyone too.
Okay.
Q&A.
Okay.
Also, so everyone can get their questions answered as well. Let's see. Ooh, the pressure's on. I like this one. Okay. Give us
Okay.
an example of one of your 1 minute motivation and how you refuel yourself. And this one I know like has to be tough for you because I remember reading somewhere that you would literally get up at midnight to write your book
Yes.
and then go
Yes.
produce your show.
Right. Right.
So how did you do that?
That
And
can actually, yeah.
all
Sure, Tori. That actually is a minute motivation I've done before, is you have to do whatever gives you energy. So there are things that you do in life that will just drain you. The Energy Bus is another book that I like a lot. And you have to be so aware of what gives you energy and what drains your energy. And it's going to be different for everyone. I really like to organize and clean. Like cleaning actually cleans my mind, and I feel like, okay, now I can go to bed or I can start my day. My fiance that would be like the worst thing to him. So you have to figure out what is it that will actually give me energy. But when it came to writing the book, I had never had problems. I woke up at 2 a.m. because I was on the early morning show at that point for work already. I was so drained by the time I got home. 5 hours of live TV was a lot. I just couldn't get myself to be creative and write. So I realized I was going to have to wake up at midnight to start writing instead. I never had any trouble getting up at midnight to write. It was like this, I love this. This is what I want to do. This gives me so much energy that I would 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out of bed and jump in the shower and start writing. And within 6 months, I wrote and published the book. It all happened very, very quickly.
super
But you
woman.
have to do, oh, thank you. You have to do whatever gives you energy. Really, that is something to be aware of as you're trying everything. Try it, be like, all right, no, that's not what does it for me, and go to something else, because it's going to be different for everyone.
100%. I love all of that. Okay, cool people. If you have more questions for Ellen, go ahead and put them in the Q&A box so she can answer them
Yes.
for you guys as well. That was so incredible. I'm so grateful that this crazy thing called fate brought you into our lives and that we got to be on your show. And it's just been such
Yes.
a pleasure. So thank you for sharing your story with everyone.
Yeah, thank you for having me on and for keeping me involved. The SheFactor, I really wish that this had been around earlier, because it's such a great tool. We all have felt the same way in our 20s. You're not alone.
Appreciate that.